Hey everybody, how's it going? Josh here at Desert Gardens Homestead. So I'm out here in my plant nursery and I'm doing some waterings, and I've noticed that some of my plants appear to be hydrophobic. I have a number of these where I'm watering them and the water is just going right through the pot down to the drain holes and exiting as soon as I begin to water. And another sign that I've noticed is that as soon as I water later that day, I come out here and I have wilted plants and I really don't have any roots emerging out of the base. And when I squeeze the pot or the bag itself, the soil inside is rock hard. And those are clear indications that my soil is not absorbing any water and that it can't saturate. So what it does is the water just goes out the sides and exits the potted plant without ever saturating the soil. So I need to remedy that situation. And there's a couple things that I can do to immediately fix the problem. And then there's some things that I can do to ultimately fix the problem. So stick with me and let's take a look at how to solve this major problem that plagues us desert gardeners. So what is hydrophobic soil? Well, hydrophobic soil happens when the soil completely dries out and the microbes that are within the soil are just more or less hibernating. They just can't process any of the breakdown of material until they rehydrate, and a lot of the humus begins to build up a waxy film-like material, which when it hardens up, it clumps up as it does, hardens up like a rock, and it just repels the water until it just becomes fully saturated. So the primary way that I combat hydrophobic soil here in the hot, arid Sonoran Desert is I have a quarter, maybe a third of a 55-gallon barrel plastic tub back here, and I just fill it with a couple inches of water. And anything that I come across that's just hydrophobic, I'll just set in there for about a day. And then after that, I'll take it out. And so I just have to be diligent. These Lucana are just notorious for just soaking up water in these bags, these plastic bags that I have them in. But the barrels out here just work wonders for rehydrating soil. And so I just really have the need for one with all these plants. You know, it doesn't happen often, but if soil becomes dried out, it needs to be rehydrated here quickly. Hey, buddy. Another common tip too is just know the weight of your potted plants with saturation and without saturation. So when a pot is in need of water, see how heavy it is and get used to that weight. And then once it's fully saturated, see how heavy it is and get used to that weight. And then that way, when you water a plant and then it still feels light in your hand, you know that that soil is also hydrophobic. So knowing the weight of your potted plants is pretty crucial, and that just comes with time and experience. And here we have a fig that I pulled out of the ground last fall, so it's going on about a year in pot. I've probably potted it up a couple times since then. But as you can see, this soil is just completely hydrophobic, and so it certainly needs some attention at this point in time. So I could either go ahead and soak this, or I could put this into a larger pot, or just bring the whole root ball up, you know, maybe an inch or so, and put some soil below it. And so those are the options I've got. But if you just take a look at this, it's just completely dried out. So once it gets to that point, it needs some attention. So we've discovered that by the soil drying out, the microbes are no longer able to function properly, and the humus builds up a waxy material that repels the water. So what can we actually do to prevent that from happening? The first thing is to make sure to add some materials such as biochar or perlite or vermiculite to your potting soil mix so that it can't just clump together. I really adhere to biochar. In this case, I've got a little bit of bone char as well as wood char, and I just love to add biochar to all my soil mix. So that is a great way to prevent hydrophobic soil. It's not the only way, but it does help. And another excellent way to prevent hydrophobic soil is to have a mulch layer. And in this case, I've got some fabulous homemade mesquite mulch here. And so I'll just make sure I have, you know, a good inch layer of mulch in the potted plant. And that will just help keep the water level maintained and regulated so all the soil life can continue forward and the sun doesn't beat out or the heat doesn't evaporate all that moisture. And so in the case of this plant, I could just go ahead and rehydrate it over in my rehydration little pool. But since the soil is kind of minimal, I'm just going to go ahead and add some more soil to the bottom of this and just put it back in its original pot. And then I'll just add a little bit of topsoil and some mulch. And then I'll just make sure I give it a really good watering. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you the finished product. And just take a look at this fig, my friends. So I got a nice inch layer of this nice homegrown, homemade mesquite mulch right on the top layer. And then I also put quite a bit of that bone and wood biochar into the potting soil mix. So it's got a really nice mix. And now I'm just going to go ahead and give it a nice shot of some cured water with some Jadam, and that'll really get the microbes working in there once again. I will go ahead and add a little bit of this juice. This is my famous Jadam, as well as this one that has a lot of micronutrients in it, as well as it's just a cured, so it has no chlorine or anything in it, and also has some vitamin B1. And I'll just go ahead and water it in nice and slow. I'm going to water it in over the course of time here just to make sure that that center will fully saturate with the new soil beneath and on top of it. It will rehydrate quite quickly, and then the mulch will hold it all in. So I just want to make sure I just take my time and do a really slow drench here. And that is it, my friends. So as long as I can keep this fig hydrated without fully drying out, keeping those microbes and the soil life at work, I will no longer have to worry about any hydrophobic soil. So as gardeners and stewards of the property and land that we're so blessed to have, we need to be diligent with our potted plants, especially if you live in a hot, arid area like a desert atmosphere, because if your soils do dry out completely, then you could certainly be at risk of hydrophobic soil. But if you spot it right away and you take immediate action, as I've illustrated here, and rehydrate your soil, you'll be excellent and fine. So I do appreciate you stopping in and checking out this video, as well as this channel. And if you found anything of value today, I would certainly appreciate you smashing that like button. And if you already haven't, also subscribe to the channel and share the content. I would certainly appreciate it. And once again, thanks for stopping in and checking us out, and have great green thumbs. This is Josh with Desert Gardens Homestead. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.